Many people ask the question, why should we believe in God? This bunch of rules and regulations is not worth the restrictions it puts on our liberty and puts the wrong sort of people in the power. All reasons, and valid ones, was important if you're not inclined towards the religious life and believing in Jesus. Unfortunately, it was that sort of thinking that Blaise Pascal seemed tired of, and so he proposed a bet for the skeptics. Pascal's wager, as it became known, states that it doesn't cost the skeptic anything to believe in God, and the most likely thing that would happen is nothing. But given the chance of eternal damnation in hell, or eternal life in heaven, it's not a bad idea to believe in God. Not unreasonable, but this gets shouted down constantly by atheists and anti-theists alike. Some even pointing out things that many Christians do give up on a regular basis for faith, which is more often seen in fundamentalist households and communities rather than the wider Christian population. I mean, I've watched Pokemon for years, I love Harry Potter, and I'm having a drink right now. It's gin. However, despite the fact many of the baseline restrictions are the ones used in modern society, such as don't steal, don't murder, don't fornicate, or don't lie, the claims they shouldn't believe in something that they can't see, just in case, has two problems, in my opinion. Firstly, that mindset has been around throughout human history and is the catalyst for a whole industry today. Second, that just in case thing is contrary to the will of Jesus and his purpose on coming to earth in the first place. I hope in this video I can explain what I mean by this. The idea of believing in something that we can't see, hear or smell is something that's been in our DNA since before the genus Homo picked up a rock and threw it at its dinner. Studies and re-examinations of fossils of Australopithecus africanus have shown that we were hunted by nearly every major predator in Miocene Africa. Crocodiles, eagles, lions, hyenas and leopards. This doesn't stop for millions of years, right into the late Pleistocene, and is still a major issue for many human settlements in areas where large carnivores roam, not just for early hunter-gatherers, but also modern people in rural or suburban communities. Since many of these predators are ambush hunters, not seeing them doesn't mean they are safe, and is in fact the very thing that could put them in harm's way. This carried over into human warfare, where being complacent and not thinking something is out there can, and indeed does, get people killed. From the hunting parties of the Stone Age, and the assassinations by ninjas, to guerrilla tactics against Rome by the Germanic tribes, the French troops in the Napoleonic Wars, and even the British in the Maori Wars, all the way to the snipers in World War II, the Viet Cong strategies against the Americans, and roadside IEDs in Afghanistan and Iraq. The element of surprise is a battle tactic older than humans, and even has a part in the Bible, where two people launched a surprise attack against the advance guard of, I think it was Syrians, or that? I'll have to look it up. Presumably around 20 people. And they routed them. Two people routed 20. Even in the modern day, quotes like "expect the unexpected," "complacency is the kiss of death," and "what you don't know can kill you," show we shouldn't dismiss something just because you can't see it. It doesn't mean it's not there or can't affect you. Many diseases have been spread because people didn't have that mindset and thus put thousands at risk. The best example in the modern day is on the roads. Many things can block a driver's view when on the road. Thus, good driving habits are constantly scanning, checking mirrors and blind spots, and, when visibility is poor, be cautious. Blind spots, low light, foggy conditions, and big obstructions have led to accidents on the road, and many more deaths besides. In fact, just the other day, at the time of recording, a colleague of mine, he got blinded by the sun and ended up in a head-on car crash, writing off 2 cars and now 2 taxi companies to get vehicles brand new. It is not a good start to the year for us. Many people had the mindset of, if I follow the rules, I should be fine. And whilst in general that's true, there is a saying, criminals don't obey the law. Hazard perception tests weren't added to the UK driving test until 2002. But whilst no information is noted on official sources, it's likely that instructors and examiners alike looked for hazard perception as part of the training and testing, at least given my parents' descriptions of their hazard perception tests during their learner driver days. All this, being aware of things that might not even be there, is all very well and good, but it can lead to paranoia, pessimism, and potentially conspiracy theories. But that is where trusting in someone to have your back comes in. And before someone shouts the religion argument, I'm just going to go with the secular industries that focus on that. And that is, of course, the insurance industry, with branches in everything you could ask for. Health, vehicle, life, pet, house, home, and pretty much anything else you can come up with. This has been recorded as far back as ancient Babylon in the 18th century BC. So, well over 20,000 years. So the concept of investing to protect others and oneself isn't new, and has been mandatory for motor insurance since 1930s. I remember when making my last van insurance policy, I said I hoped the glass wouldn't need to be replaced in the windshield, but then again, that's the whole point of having insurance. So being prepared for something that you don't know could happen isn't daft. It's part of human society since before the rise of ancient Greece, since before Alexander the Great, before, many people might believe, the very basis of the Bible. One thing we don't always think of with Pascal is that he laid the groundwork for the modern theory of probabilities. So it's interesting to think that he promoted a form of spiritual insurance. For all that, though, I feel I should tell you something very important. It's not as easy as Pascal might have made it out. The sad truth is that Christ himself pointed out that in the Gospels you can attend church and shout his name in the street for all to hear, but unless you're following his teachings to the point you live and work like he would have, you're not going to heaven, and he will not know you. Pascal's heavenly insurance is a useful idea to shut people up, but it's actually a terrible idea to base one's hopes on. Instead, one should base one's hopes on Jesus Christ, not in any sort of insurance, but relying on his teachings, following his lead, and being a good, God-loving person. Having the insurance is worthwhile. like in the parable of the 10 virgins. But relying on it is the worst thing you can do. I always say aiming for heaven isn't the best way to live your life. Making heaven on earth for as many people as possible is far better. And I'm definitely planning on doing a video on that at some point. I'm definitely going to do it this year. It's better to think of it like being friends with someone who happened to be the richest person alive. Note I say your friend happens to be rich. So you're clearly not in it for the money. But because you genuinely like them and enjoy their company. Like all good friendships, you stand by each other, tell them when they mess up, and also defend them to people who speak ill of them, even speak out against you being so-called friends with them. It's friends like that who help you out the biggest scrapes, and in the end will be there for you. The commitment you make to him is not one of obligation, out of him asking you to constantly pay him attention, or even being needy, but because you genuinely want to spend time together. It's like having a relationship with a partner. Nothing you do in the relationship is maintenance-based. Nothing should be because they clearly want it. It's because you want to show your appreciation, your love, your affection for them, and be with them as much as possible. That's something me and my partner are finding out every day we spend with each other. It might just be because you both have the same values, which only strengthens your relationship. It's worthwhile noting that insurance companies are just as likely to be restricting in their own assistance if it's clear you caused the problems that you called them out to help. They make money on premiums, not on the payouts. So you want to make money by being an idiot and claiming nothing can touch you, you're asking the wrong people to support you in this. You can't insure a building for millions of pounds and then burn it down. You can't claim millions of pounds on art, priceless art, that you then encourage burglars to come and steal. Jesus is the same. Be an idiot and expect him to pull him out just because you'll be left alone. Another video in the works will cover that as well. I've got a lot of things to plan for this year. So, to sum up, to those atheists who don't see the point of believing something you can't see, or preparing for something that is unlikely to happen, that mindset would be laughed at by billions of people from across the millennia, in both recorded and pre-history. Odds are they would say, because you can't see it is the very reason you should be afraid of it. And I would strongly advise you never to get into a car, because that attitude is not only extremely dangerous on the road, but will not serve you well should you inevitably have a crash. However, belief in God and the teachings of Jesus shouldn't be used as an insurance policy, but as a way of life. Being a genuine friend to Jesus, living and acting the way he did, is the only true guarantee that you will arrive in heaven and be accepted by Christ. My advice is, don't treat Jesus like an insurance broker. Treat him like a friend. You will have no need to worry about the end of days, because you'll already have him with you. A brilliant example of this would be keeping a shovel and a tin of grit in the boot of your car during icy weather. That's what I did, and it's helped immeasurably. Even though, immediately after that, I no longer needed it. So stay alert. Be humble. Stay safe. and God be with you, my friends.